Okay, everybody, after seeing this shit, you're never gonna want to go to the doctor again. Alrighty, today we are taking an awesome look back at 1978's Coma. But before we go any further, you know the routine. Once and again, to the trailer.
Where is the patient?
Coming right down, Dr. Coma.
You enter a major metropolitan hospital for routine surgery.
What's the matter?
I don't know. Something goes wrong.
She never woke up.
No.
What if it wasn't an accident? Now, the #1 best-selling mystery becomes the most thrilling suspense film of the year. Geneviève Bujold is Dr. Susan Wheeler.
Been about a dozen of these coma cases here in the last year. They're always different. Hard to imagine it's murder.
Are you sure?
Susan, what do you think? There's a conspiracy at the Boston Memorial Hospital?
I'm fine. I don't need a shrink.
But I think it's important to have on the record.
She's under stress, a little paranoid.
Well, she thinks there's a conspiracy.
Does she think you're involved?
Michael Douglas is Dr. Mark Bellows.
No, I don't think so.
First rule of crime. Keep it simple.
Somebody is putting people into comas. They're murdering them.
It's a 4367. The bidding now stands at 42.5. A 31-year-old male.
At Boston Memorial Hospital, only one doctor can save your life. But first, she's got to save her own.
Susan!
We have to do something. This is real, Mark.
Somebody's seen too much.
What's the matter?
I don't know what the matter is.
Somebody's gone too far. Somebody's getting away with murder.
Okay, this little gem was directed by Michael Crichton. Now, we've been down this road before, folks. You're talking about Runaway. We reviewed it. We're talking about Looker. We reviewed it. But he also directed one we're going to get to, Westworld. And he's done things like, the Great Train Robbery and stuff like that. But really, mostly known as a writer, too, who did Congo and Jurassic Park and Sphere and Rising Sun. So, this guy, I really wish he was still directing movies. I really wish he was. I just loved what he did, and I loved all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Looker and Runaway and this. I mean, come on. These are some great flicks, people. But anyway, enough waxing poetically about that. Let's get to the cast. Okay, playing Dr. Susan Wheeler is Geneviève Bujold. Now, she was around on the scene a lot back in the day. She was a face that popped up in quite a good amount of movies, if you know what I'm saying. Anyway, she was in stuff like Tightrope and Monsignor and Murder by Decree and Swashbuckler and Choose Me and Earthquake and Dead Ringers. So she was a name, she was out, she was about, she was in a lot of flicks back in the day. You seen her, you knew her, you recognized her. It's just the way it was. Let's keep going. Okay, playing Dr. Mark Bellows was Michael Douglas. Now, folks, let's just be real. For a period of time, Michael Douglas was huge shit in Hollywood. We're talking from late 70s, early 80s, all the way up to the early 90s. I mean, he was bashing them out the park, hit after hit, movie after movie. We're talking about, he was stuff like Falling Down and Black Rain and War of the Roses and the China Syndrome, which was classic, and Wall Street and Fatal Attraction and Basic Instinct, and he was in Traffic and Jewel of the Nile. I mean, it was like hit. So, Michael Douglas, huge career, monster career, and he was in this. That's all I can say. Okay, playing Dr. George was Rip Torn. Yo, folks, we all love us some Rip Torn. Anyway, obviously, he was in a bunch of good shit. He was in stuff like Men in Black, and Dodgeball, and The Wonder Boys, and Defending Your Life, and City Heat, and Cross Creek, and an epic motion picture, worthy of all the awards it never got. Best Picture, Best Sound, Best Acting, Beastmaster. Hey, what more can you ask for than that? Playing Dr. Hadis was Richard Widmark. Now, folks, come on. We're talking a heavy hitter from the golden age of motion pictures in Hollywood. We're talking about he was in shit like The Alamo and The Murder on the Orient Express and Roller Coaster and The Swarm and Hanky Panky and How the West Was Won and The War Wagon and Kiss of Death. I mean, just fucking come on, man. The dude's name alone, as soon as you hear it, if you know anything about the olden days of motion pictures, bam, it's right in your face, and that's all there is to that. Playing Nancy Greenlee was Lois Charles. Now, she was a face you're going to recognize, and she was on the scene back in the day. We're talking about Death on the Nile, The Way We Were, Broadcast News, The Great Gatsby. She was in Speed 2. She did tons of TV work, and she will always be Dr. Goodhead from Moonraker. Come on, dude. How can you not remember that? Moonraker, Dr. Goodhead. And by the way, there was just a bunch of people in this motion picture. Maybe they weren't huge stars at the time, but they were in this. We're talking Ed Harris pops up in this. We're talking Lance LeGault pops up in this. We're talking Tom Selleck pops up in this. There's a lot of people that pop up in this motion picture. They were very early in their career, and they all went on to really, really big degrees of success in one way or another much later on. So just keep an eye out, and you will see the faces, and you will recognize the names. And playing Mrs. Emerson was Elizabeth Ashley. Good actress. Was in a bunch of shit back in the day. We're talking about she was in stuff like Happiness and Stagecoach and Windows. And she did a lot of TV from like Another World and All My Children and Evening Shade. And she is creepy as all living hell in this and does a great job, by the way. Just saying. Okay, everybody, I'm going to try to keep this little hoo-ha to 90 seconds or less, just like I always do. So, let's get through the story so we can get to the summation, which is where we all really want to be anyway. Let's face it. Okay, Michael Douglas and Geneviève Bujold. They're working at a hospital. They're doctors. Geneviève Bujold is a doctor, bit of a chip on her shoulder, a little bit uptight, really dedicated to her job. Michael Douglas, same thing, except he's really caught up in the political aspect. He just wants to keep getting promoted, and move up the political ladder of the hospital. They fight, they carry on, they love each other, they reunite. That's the way the shit goes. Except something weird starts happening at this hospital. There's an unusual amount of coma patients going on. People that go in for seemingly silly, stupid, little routine procedures, and they just don't come back. Well, they come back, but they're really just in a vegetated coma state. They're not mentally there anymore. They're just in a coma. Hence the title of the film, by the way. Anyway, one of Geneviève Bujold's friends, Lois Charles, goes in for a procedure. Anyway, she doesn't come out. This starts the train roll. She starts looking into things, digging into things. Everybody's like looking at her like, why are you digging so hard into this? It was just one of those kind of things. And then she sees another patient. Same thing. Knee surgery. He goes into a coma. Really weird. Really odd. She starts poking her nose around. Michael Douglas doesn't really think that she's looking at this logically. He thinks she's messed up emotionally from her friend dying, and she's digging too deep. But the deeper she digs, she starts to find out some very interesting facts. There's an unusually high amount of patients that have been falling into comas for no apparent reason, for no apparent rhyme. She doesn't understand. She starts doing some investigating. She starts doing some snooping around, and she finds out. Ooh, what does she find out? Should I tell you? Okay, I'll give you a little bit more. She finds out that people are being purposely induced in a coma, purposely taken to this Jefferson Institute, and purposely having their organs harvested and sold off to the highest bidders. Those that need transplants aren't really on lists, but they got a lot of the greenbacks. Anyway, the gist of the movie, You got it. Doctor stumbles onto some shit, finds out that the rich and powerful are paying for organs to be hardest from people that are relatively young and in good health, so that they can have them put into them and they can basically live more. Who knows? Anyway, you get the idea. Let's get to the summation. Okay, everybody, this is one of those great classic thrillers from the 70s. I'm going to get over the technical stuff really quick. Okay, the directing's solid, the writing is solid. We all know that kind of stuff. The tone and the mood is just perfectly all the way through. It's one of those motion pictures where you feel like you're in a typical 70s motion picture. You feel like you're just watching this go on in real life. There's nothing sensationalized, there's nothing crazy, there's nothing over the top. Okay, a chase scene or two, but beyond that, it's pretty straight and down the line. And I love the fact that they take the character that Geneviève Bujold plays, Dr. Wheeler, and they basically put her in the role of a teenager in all the other movies. Because what's the role they always do to a teenager? I know something's wrong. I see something evil, and nobody else will believe me. Nobody else takes me seriously. And that's the role they put her in. Kind of the same thing they did in Invasions of the Body Snatchers, if you remember that. Remember when she was seeing all these weird things going on? And everybody's like, oh, ho, ho, you're imagining it. Same kind of premise. You take an adult, you put them in a teenager setting. And that makes it more terrifying, more suspenseful. Because as an adult watching the motion picture, you're like, why is nobody listening to her? Why is nobody listening to him? Why is nobody taking this seriously? And that's one of the things that makes those kind of motion pictures uncomfortable. It's cute when it's a teenager. It's bizarre and weird when you're an adult. And it makes it just a little bit more suspenseful. Two, they show you a lot of things in a hospital to automatically make you uneasy. They do a lot of long, slow panning shots across chrome instruments that look horrific if you ever think of anybody using them on you. They show you stuff, especially back then, that you never got to see in a hospital setting. You know how a hospital is. You go in, they knock you out, you hope you don't know what they're doing, you wake back up, you hope the shit's fine. Just the way it goes. This one spends an inordinate amount of time showing what they do to you when you're unconscious, what they have waiting for you that you never see, and what happens to you if shit goes wrong. So right then and there, if you take out even the rest of the plot and the rest of the movie, this movie already makes you uncomfortable and it already makes you unsettled. You throw in the way that Michael Crichton directed this, you throw in the excellent acting you got from the cast and the writing about this macabre, evil, sick, deranged plot to do this, to harvest organs from young, healthy people and sell off to the rich. Hey folks, you got something that's eerie and semi-plausible and enough to make you feel, hey, next time I go to a doctor, do I really want to go to the doctor? Anyway, everybody, get out there and check out Coma. It's an excellent motion picture. It's suspenseful. It's thoughtful. Well acted, well written, well directed, well done. And it will always make you queasy because it deals with a subject of when you have to take the control of your life and turn it over to somebody else and hope they do the right thing before you get control back. And that's always a premise that freaks anybody out. Is it possible? Nah. Is it plausible? Nah. Then again, we live in a planet where we just found out that most of the rich and famous go to a weird sex island. Whew. What more do you need to say than that? All right, everybody, be good. Take care of one another. Look out for each other. Stay out of trouble. And more than anything, never, and I mean ever, take any bullshit from nobody. Take care. See y'all again soon.